Negative thoughts in your mind that you aren't good enough, that you'll never be successful? If so, you're not alone. I've had those thoughts playing in my mind ever since I took the leap to become an entrepreneur. It's a dirty, dark secret that no one likes to talk about, as the glamorization of becoming an entrepreneur is shown in the media. I realized that in order to succeed, I needed help. We all do. So I decided to go all in on myself, spending thousands of hours in the trenches, reading, joining groups, listening to podcasts, hiring coaches to develop a bulletproof morning routine for success. Join me on my journey as together we build our morning fire to ignite our lives as entrepreneurs. My name is Jeff Wickersham, and this is the Morning Fire for Entrepreneurs podcast. Welcome to the show. I am super excited to have special guest Edgar Blazona on the show. Edgar, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Absolutely. So let's get into state before we get into a great discussion. So we're going to do 3 power breaths in. I define a power breath, breathing in through the belly, up through the chest, coming up almost the back of our neck. Let's go ahead and breathe in and out. Good. Another breath in and out. Final breath in and out. All right, now I'm going to count down 3, 2, 1. We're going to yell boom at the top of our lungs, get our energy amped up a little bit. And 3, 2, 1, and boom. There you go. I appreciate you. Appreciate you playing along. So,
yeah, no problem.
I sleep, eat, breathe, morning habits, rituals, routines. I know this was a little bit of a difficult question for you, but what do you do first thing to start your day that really sets you down that path towards success?
You know, when I get up in the morning, a lot of it has to do with my kids and getting them out the door and all that. You know, when this question was posed to me, I really kind of stepped back and thought, what is my morning routine? Do I even have a morning routine? You know, it turns out I do, right? I get the kids out, I get them, get them ready. Obviously with the help of my wife, it's not just me making that move, but I drive them to school and one of the things that we do is that's kind of our time to talk and I can get them to school. And I remember, wasn't that long ago when I started this company, I would listen to different podcasts with my son and about business, and we would talk about business, and he would ask me these questions. He was, a freshman in high school, and he would ask me these questions and I would answer them. And it kind of got me in the right mindset, and I would come back from that drop off and then start my morning, so obviously another cup of coffee, sit down and kind of check the emails and maybe even check the fun ones first, right? Check, look for ones that weren't necessarily business related, but that were more on the fun, side of things, and then ease my day into, the endless emails and whatnot. But I feel like that moment of driving to school, asking the questions, getting the feedback from, oddly, a teenager, sort of helped me kind of get my day going.
That's awesome. And what a gift to share right there in that experience. And you're getting a perspective that's probably very unique and fresh. So you're going to get, so what a great bonding moment for sure. I appreciate you sharing that with us. So let's take a step back, Edgar, and let's look at your journey, because I know you didn't take the traditional route, right? And I'd love for you to give the audience a baseline of where you came from, a little bit about your story, and then we'll get into kind of shifting the consumer mindset.
Sure. Yeah, I grew up in San Francisco, the gold rush out here, right? We've got this boom of economy and tech and all that, and I've been here since day one, really. I've watched it come and go multiple times. I went to School of the Arts High School, after kind of, falling out of Catholic high school, went to School of the Arts High School, where I fit in just a little bit more. And I was there. I made it to my senior year. was a punk ass kid, was a graffiti artist, was kind of using graffiti as an artist outlet,
Okay.
while still kind of feeding that young, punk ass trying to get away with things kind of side of me at the time. And I left home, was living, completely by myself, had a small apartment and a job, and I ended up dropping out of high school. And I thought I could do it myself, and had my first apartment, made some furniture for it. Couldn't afford anything. I was just a poor kid, and I ended up selling that first piece of furniture to a gallery that sold it over the weekend. And they gave me like $400 in cash. It was more money than I'd ever seen really in a chunk. This is back in the days when you would go to the ATM and get 120 out. And I got
Gotcha.
like a whole ton of them. And I've been in the furniture industry ever since, literally.
Interesting. So obviously not having the funds to buy furniture, you said, "Hey, why not build it?" How did it go from build it to have somebody selling it? What was that process, and how did that come about?
Yeah, I would literally make things. I learned how to weld myself. I'm self-taught. I
Okay.
literally, like, this is before YouTube. I would be like taking the welder, and touching it to the metal, and I hope I don't electrocute myself. And oh shoot, it makes a weld. There was no YouTube where you could just like figure out how to weld overnight by watching some videos or anything like that. And so I started making furniture. I would sell it on the street corner. I literally would set up furniture on the street corner, almost like a garage sale, and I
Okay.
would sell furniture, and right out there on the corner. And that kind of transpired into now selling it to stores. Right now, it's like
Okay.
a gallery owner saw me at a flea market. I was selling, pieces at a flea market, and he saw that work, and he said, why don't you come and sell through my store? And it was one of the biggest modernist stores in San Francisco at the time. And that kind of propelled me into realizing, wow, I'm a talented furniture designer, and I'm a maker, and I can put the two together and make a living. And I did custom work for a long time, before I realized now I need to put together a brand. And that became my passion, was making, was creating this modern furniture brand, so to speak. And it's always been my thing. I've loved modernism all my life, minimalism, and all that. And so I've always looked to make a modern minimalist brand.
Okay. So you got discovered at a flea market. You had a studio, a place that sold you. You got more money than you ever had gotten before at a time, and then you lean into that passion and you did custom furniture.
Yep.
How did the rest of that journey go to get you
Then
to where you are today?
Yeah, I shut my furniture business down. I realized I was pushing wood through a table saw, right? I was making kitchen cabinets, lots of cabinet jobs.
Okay.
And I was pushing wood through a saw, and I realized it's going to take me forever to get, the summer home that I had always dreamed of getting, or, going on vacation. And I realized that I needed to learn, right? And so I shut my business down. I came up with a plan. I'm going to go work for one of the biggest, coolest, retail design driven companies that was around. And for me, it was Pottery Barn. Pottery Barn happened to be in my backyard, and this
Okay.
was during a time of their heyday. And so I went to work there as a designer, as a technical designer. And I pointed out, I needed to get to their factories. I pointed out all these problems. In fact, I may or may not have been kind of creating some problems in the background so that I could go solve them. Right. And so
Okay.
I went and solved them in their factories in China. I convinced them that I'm the man. I can go solve them in China for you. And I suddenly became this like kind of roving factory guy that would go there, and I'd get behind the saw there and teach them how to do the distressing techniques we wanted, or create this kind of panel, or do all this stuff. And that was my college, right? And that got me into creating products for major retailers. And that was a real learning experience. And from there, I convinced the next guy to let me have my own brand. And, you know, uh, basically, have this modern furniture brand while working for them. I kind of was
Okay.
like, I'm either going to leave and do it, or I'm going to stay here and do it. You
Okay.
decide. And they were like, stay here and do it, and, keep doing what you're doing for us. And that really transpired. And along the way, I built BenchMade Modern, which is the brand that I'm really, focused on these days. It's an upholstery brand. We raised some capital for it. Going back to my driving around with my kid in the car, really, we were so focused together as a team, my son and I, that we saw this investor, this podcast investor that we had been following and listening to in the car. We saw him in a restaurant, and my son's like, "Go talk to him, Dad." And I'm going, "No, no, no, it's cool." And literally, my son pretty much forced that meeting together with us. And he ended up asking me a couple questions, and I kind of like played it cool, and he said, "Well, I gotta go," but he's texting me from inside the restaurant. "I want to know more about your business. I want to know more." And he ended up being my first investor. So I kind of handed to my son and I, making that morning run to school and listening to those podcasts, and then him frankly helping me get in front of this guy. It was a pretty cool thing.
What an amazing story about the bond of father son, and him pushing you to say, no, go over there, do it. And then you're like, then you have to, right?
I
Because
kind of had to.
they're looking at you as the leader, and what are you going to shy away in that moment? Because then you're teaching them the lesson not to go for their dreams. Talk about accountability.
100%. Yeah,
Right.
100%. I can't look like the dad that blew the shot. This is what
Right.
we've been talking about in the car for the last year. Can't blow it now. Yeah, totally.
Oh, that's amazing. What a great story, and what a great gift to, you two to share, and then
Yeah.
to flourish from. So let's talk about obviously the new company and your passion now, and how to change the consumer mindset, because I know, this was a big shift and vital to your success in the business.
Yeah, yeah. I think that the consumer mindset has really changed over time, right? So I'm trying to teach. How do I teach the customer that it's okay to order $4,000, $5,000, even like $7,000, $10,000 things sight unseen,
Mm.
right? And that's kind of a big leap of faith. It wasn't that long ago where we were looking at websites and, are they going to steal my credit card kind of,
Right.
mentality. And so how do I change that customer's mindset to not only buy a piece of furniture that you're used to sitting in, right?
Hmm.
Where fit and feel is everything, right? I mean, look, can you imagine how many times I've heard, "I would never buy a sofa without sitting in it first."
Right.
I don't hear that anymore. On all honesty, like, I just don't hear that anymore. Now there's this openness to understanding that there is a process of kind of verification, right? And we do this along the way. We'll send you a box of swatches, a giant box of swatches, where we send it overnight or
Okay.
second day air. It's
Hmm.
huge. It's a signal to say to you, when you get this thing, it's like, wow, this is badass. This is like amazing, right?
Right.
And we do that as a signal to say, hey, look, we're the real deal. Like, we're not just going to take your credit card and run. This is for real, right? And it's part of this process that we start to signal along the way that everything was going to be okay. And we do a bunch of other tricks too. And by the time that you've kind of gone through the process, you're finally comfortable with purchasing online. I'll give a lot of credit to, like Zappos. Zappos was a shoe brand, right? That
Right.
you could order a pair of shoes. They would send them to you for free. They would also take them back for free. They would ship
Right.
them back for free. And that sort of changed the mindset of being able to buy something just like a sofa. You tried on shoes at that point. Did they fit well? right? And that was the same exact hurdle as that we were doing in the sofa business. And today I think it's become, somewhat comfortable, to make that purchase, because you know that, well, if I don't like it, I can always return it.
Mhm.
I can get my money back. And I think that's changed the mindset of the customer today.
And I would agree with you there that it's so much more commonplace now than it was. I'd be interested in that kind of trial and error process I'm sure you went through in the beginning
Oh my
stages where
gosh.
people were like, I need to sit, I need to feel it. So
Yes.
share a couple of experiences or
Well,
lessons learned there you had.
one thing is the 100-day trial. Do you know what a leap of faith that is for me as the brand? I'm going to say to you, I'm going to ship you a custom made product. I'm going to allow you to not just pick something off the shelf, but I'm going to allow you to design your custom made sofa made to the 5-inch increment, right? In
Mhm.
whatever fabric choice that you want. I'm going to ship it to you, right? Shipping for me cost, a ton of money. Like, we
Right.
charge a little bit for shipping. It's nowhere near what it actually costs us, right? So we've got a lot invested. We got the product, we've got the shipping and all that. But I'm going to do all this. I'm going to send it to you, and then I'm going to give you 100 days to basically use it, wreck it,
Mhm.
make it, worthless coming back to me, right? That was such a leap of faith, right, for us, right? Was that going to kill the business? I mean, we were counting down 100 days, right? 102 days, 103 days, 130 days, right? Like, when is this going to wreck the business? Like,
Gotcha.
is this going to just bankrupt us, right? Are we going to get all these returns? And what we had to kind of rest on is our quality is so good that we're not going to get returns, right?
Gotcha.
Our pre-experience, and this is a big point. I think a lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs don't understand this, is going into it. Like, we are already working with you ahead of time to make sure that it's the right sofa for you, right? There's a whole process around that, so that by the time you get it, we've kind of know, you kind of know that the fit and feel is correct for what you want. We
Right.
sent you the swatches. There's no weirdness on the color. You know what it is because you got the swatches and all that. And so all of those things are designed around kind of helping the customer through that hurdle mindset and so on. But boy, that 100-day, trial thing was such a leap of faith, and it worked out for us for sure.
How'd you come up with that?
I can't say that it's all my own. Honestly, it really comes from the mattress world.
Okay.
Casper, direct consumer, they did it first.
Mhm.
Sleep on it for 100 days, and we thought, well, if they can do it, we sure can too. We have a lot more money invested in a sofa than they do in a mattress, so it was a big leap. But it's something that we had to do, and boy, it was scary though. That's for sure.
I'm sure, I'm sure it was, right? And I would say it probably also raised your game internally as a company that we're going to make that pre-experience so fantastic that they're going to design it. And then we're going to make the product so amazing
Yeah.
that nobody's ever going to want to return their
Yeah,
sofa.
and
Yeah.
and honestly, that's what it is today. I talk a lot about what's under the hood,
Okay.
the quality of the product, underneath the cover, and it's something that you never see unless you tear a sofa apart. But there's so much good material and quality and craftsmanship under the hood that is actually what makes for a quality sofa at the end of the day. And I stand by it, and it's kind of fun. If you go to my Twitter feed right now, pinned, there's me saying, okay, sofa manufacturers, how about we battle old school style, right? You send your best piece of sofa to a rider, I'll send my best piece of sofa to a rider, and whoever wins is crowned sofa king by the other publicly. And lo and behold, it's been there for a year. I know all those guys are on my feed as well. Nothing. There's not been a single response. No one wants to go up against that and put their product up for the test.
That's awesome. I love it. I love stepping up and raising the game, right? Does anybody and that boldness, that brashness obviously transfers to what you do and the quality that you bring to the marketplace. So that leads into chasing your dreams, right? Against all odds. Explain a little bit about your journey and what that means to you, right? To be all in and chasing your dreams.
Yeah, it's a scary thing. Honestly, you chase your dream, right? And then you achieve your dream. Then you got to hold on to your dream, right? And you kind of become, no one, entrepreneurs do not talk about this. They do not talk about when you get to a certain level, now you have to maintain that level, right?
Right.
It's really difficult to take a step back. And there's a lot of mental, I don't know, juggling with, like, what do I do? Now I've made it to this point, and this is my dream. What's next, right?
Right.
How do I keep this going? You know, how do I still keep providing for my family? How do I my own self mental being? How do I keep providing for that, right? And that's
Mhm.
that's a really tough kind of position, is how do I maintain this thing that I've created through all the ups and downs
Right.
and the hurdles. And it takes a lot of focus, and it takes a lot of trust. I think that's the biggest key, is you have to at all odds, you have to trust yourself. You have to trust yourself that if this whole thing comes crashing down for some reason other than the other, I
Mhm.
mean, we got lucky. COVID actually made sales for us, and some
Right.
businesses fell apart. I can only imagine those businesses that fell apart, those entrepreneurs had to have more faith in themselves than ever at that point in time, to know that when this is over, I'll be able to get back up again.
Yeah, amen. And that's so well put. Trust and faith, right? So critical to the process, and that intestinal fortitude to push through those moments that are tough, and those downtimes. So Edgar, love the conversation. Where can people find out more about you and your company?
Yeah, absolutely. Check out benchmademodern.com. You can find, all of our goods there, all of our sofas, order some swatches. Kind of check us out. There's some cool things. You can even hit the print button, and we send you a full scale drawing of whatever custom sofa you order. A giant piece of paper you lay out on the floor and make sure it fits the room. Make sure you can lay head to toes between the arms. Get a good rest. All that. So we've got lots of stuff there. You can check us out there. And then I'm Edgar Blazona at Twitter, as well. If send me a note or whatever. Happy to chat.
Awesome, Edgar. I appreciate you being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was a good one. It was nice kind of drumming up these old thoughts, and how I got there.
Absolutely. Appreciate you listening. Appreciate you watching. Have an amazing rest of your day. Rise, fight, love, repeat. Get after it. And I'll talk to you soon.